Hello and welcome everyone to the Link to the Past Randomizer 2019 tournament. We're finally getting this kicked off. This is the first of 16 qualifiers that will be taking place over the course of the next 3 weeks to determine a top 128 for a group stage, which will then head into a bracket stage. We're getting it all kicked off here today. I'm Sabotender, and I am joined by my good buddy, Megawatt. How you doing, Megawatt?
I'm doing all right, Saba. How about yourself? You ready for today's race?
I am so hyped for this. We have 99 people taking part in this qualifier. So lots of interest. It's really exciting to see so many faces in the community here. And we've got 4 excellent runners here. Goomba, Lin, Bwayne, and Zelda here on the restream. Should be a lot of fun. So what kind of game are we playing in here for the tournament?
For the qualifier stage, we're going by the basic of basics. Just the open 7-7 defeat Ganon goal, which for those not up to the current V31 lingo, means that you need to get all 7 crystals to open GT, and you need all 7 crystals to defeat Ganon.
Yeah. So just kind of like return to basics here. It was what the community wanted, and yeah, we've kind of been missing it a little bit. So it's pretty hyped to kind of go back to what made this so fun in the first place. Once we hit the group stages and the bracket phase, we do introduce a couple of little variables, little tweaks you can make to the seeds to make them a little bit spicier, but it doesn't do anything too drastic to kind of the overall spirit of the competition. So yeah, I don't know. I am just kind of really excited to get this all going.
This is going to be one hype qualifier stage, I believe. Lots of talented runners this time around. A lot of new ones to the scene that have joined over the course of the last few months in between this tournament and the last one. So we are ready to see them showcased on stream, hopefully, in the coming qualifiers.
Yeah, and it looks like we're just about a minute away from getting things started here. Just want to do a quick shout out to our trackers before we get started, because they are an important part behind the scenes here. We've got Merc249 and literally Jen clicking those buttons. So give them some love in the chat. They definitely deserve it. And if at any point during the run here you have any questions about stuff, ask them in the chat and we'll see if we can answer them for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, it shouldn't be long now. Any thoughts on like kind of how what we're looking for in this seed? Anything that we kind of want to not see? Any item? We're doing this thing with like, you know, what item is gonna, you know, be the thorn in everyone's side. Anything you're thinking that might kind of be a problem today?
We haven't. Man, it's been so long since I'd last seen a sword for Go mode. It'd be kind of interesting to see that now. Not quite as interesting for the runners, but it would be interesting for the viewers, for sure.
Yeah, when we get to see if there was, you know, a sword issue, is we'd see a lot of like pretty good execution, and we would expect that from the 4 runners that we've got today. If they're on fighter sword the entire way, that'd be kind of rad to see how they kind of adapt to that.
We are off to a start here. All 4 runners opting to start from Sanctuary, getting just a small key. And 2 of them heading up to check Lumberjack, looking for some bombs all the while. The other 2 just heading straight for Lost Woods.
So yeah, pretty standard start here. Most people head for the Lost Woods Kakariko play off the bat here. You might see some variation if Link's house has something valuable. You might see someone go for South Shore early on, but this is kind of the usual. We see Bwayne noping out after the Lost Woods, though, so he might be heading for Link's house there.
Meanwhile, Lin and Goomba setting up for the Tier 3 tree pull, it seems. whereas Zelda and Boyne heading straight back to Link's house and taking the south route to Kakariko. This is sort of the opener I've been adopting recently. Start from Sanctuary, go north, and if you don't find bombs, then, especially if you find money for bombs, then just save and quit out of Lost Woods, go to Link's house, and go to the south route.
I'm kind of glad to see South Route coming back. You know, the free bomb drop here is nice. It used to be something you would see a lot in previous tournaments. So that this kind of routing is making a comeback is interesting.
Not much to see on the race game ledge. Just a piece of heart. Probably not something our runners are going to bother with.
Alrighty, so we're into Kakariko here. A lot of items up for grabs here. Hopefully it'll give us some kind of indication as to where our runners might want to go next.
Well, that's certainly a pretty good item to start off with. Especially since we already know 2 of our pendants in the light world.
Yes, it's definitely going to come into play at some point, you would imagine. The really good thing about an early ice rod is that you're already not thinking about the ice rod hunt. You know, it's an item that can be almost anywhere in the game. So to have it kind of checked off your list early on is really nice.
Yeah, probably one of the better things to see early, even if it's not useful at all until like the end of the seed. You have a book in Kakariko Well. Along with a glove.
Yeah,
And a fire source, okay. So,
and a
assuming
Quake
Desert
medallion.
isn't boots locked, our runners can go full clear that.
And that's the kind of like little kit that you get that you think, is the seed leading me this way?
Yeah, in this specific instance, maybe it's a bit too early to tell, but that is a very specific set of items, as you said. It makes me really think there probably is going to be something over in Desert. The only potential catch is the decision on whether or not it's worth to go without boots, because you might end up locked out.
Could require a double dip if you do it that way. Yeah, everything else in Kakariko not really playing, to any particular direction. So the desert play kind of looking good. I imagine that we're going to see some South Shore stuff, and if anything comes up there, that might lead someone somewhere else. But it could then just lead right into a desert play.
Yeah, I definitely see at least one desert play from these 4 runners.
Yeah, I would expect it as well.
Possibly even before Mini Moleworm Cave, but probably the most understandable thing here would be South Shore over to Ice Rod Cave, potentially, and then over to check Desert.
Yeah. Could see Mini Moldorm Cave first, and then going like west through the dam, and then to Desert from there.
That's also a very good option. You do Orphan Ice Rod Cave, but it's only 1 check, and you could potentially get back to it very quickly later with Flute. But it is a very tiny gamble. You have to decide whether or not you're okay with making it. It seems to be finally getting a little bit of divergence here, though. Boyne taking his glove and lamp up to Death Mountain. Zelda, Lyn, and Goomba each going to check the back of Escape now.
Not finding anything yet in back of Escape, but Zelda is continuing on to the Dark Cross chest. Man, That dead rock not playing nice. Hey, a unique item. A single arrow from the old man.
Blaine just stopping at the save and quit point. Understandable. That's a long way to walk for only one item to check inside of Spectacle Rock. Going straight for the back of escape as well. And we find the Ether in the Dark Cross. That's 2 of 3 medallions already. Certainly not a bad start.
Definitely not. And then, you know, with the 2 medallions and Ice Rod, you've got a lot of those kind of like iffy items out of the way already. So access into Mire and Turtle Rock, if we need to go in there, it's looking good so far. So that's the ways down the road, but it's just nice to have those in your back pocket.
A bit more divergence here now. Zelda going down the South Shore, Lyn going up to escape. Zelda seems like he's going to be taking the Mini Moldorm Cave over to Desert route. Starting with this, moving over to the dam, and then off over to Desert. Goomba's going to be something slightly different, it seems. He's going to start with the dam, so it's hard to say which way he'll go afterwards.
Wow, Titansmith's in Mini Moldorm Caves, so we're just a Moon Pearl away from our Dark World access.
I know I saw at least several messages in the IRC chat begging no mitts for Dark World access, but it seems that's not what the seed had in store for us
guys
today.
and gals. Okay, so nothing in the dam there.
Goomba is heading right over to Mini Moldorm Cave, likely Ice Rod Cave afterwards, or else he would have routed this slightly differently. But Zelga's definitely going to be finishing up at the dam and heading to Desert. There's no question about that, I think. Bueno heading straight to Eastern Palace, or at least to Sahasrah's hut. Potentially worth the 3 checks here at Sahasrah's hut. I'm not sure if he follows through without a bow, but this is definitely not a bad check to make. Especially since you can also pick up knowledge of the only remaining pendant, which is, of course, Thieves' Town.
Great.
Lovely.
Okay, so Powder hanging out in Sahasrah's hut there. We can't get access to it yet, to the magic bat that is, so that's going to sit for a while, but a check they'll likely route in at some point. Alrighty, so Lyn's going to get us these 2 checks deeper into front of Hyrule Castle here. What are we going to find? Just a piece of heart in the first one, not too great. And Goomba's getting close to Ice Rod Cave here.
This will be our first sight of Ice Rod Cave. And this is something that Zelda has at this point sort of orphaned a bit. So if this ends up being a Flute or Moon Pearl, or something pretty important, then he's in a bit of... Ooh! That's very unfortunate for Zelda.
Yikes.
He's hoping for his sake that he finds a Flute somewhere pretty soon. Somewhere not locked behind that hook, ideally.
Yeah, that's... I mean, it is early enough in the seed that feels like it's going to probably be a last location, but it's not like a game breaker.
Right. The only potential thing I could see him losing time on is dipping Eastern without a bow. Aside from that, the only other time loss is just walking back to Mini Moldorm Cave. Goomba,
so with that hook shot.
Yeah, straight to the source of a whole bunch of dense checks.
Yeah, this is going to work out pretty well. I imagine that we're probably going to find the Moon Pearl over here, and then maybe some other piece of progression. If we do find the Pearl over here, that's great. You can also then dip right into the Dark World and do Dark Death Mountain as well.
I'm pretty partial to the Pearl actually being behind those flippers that we just found out of our non-Boots Lock Desert Palace.
Ooh, so hey, that might pull Zelda down to the South Shore area again. He might not get all the way over to Ice Rod Cave right away, but, well, he might. We'll see.
This might actually be what he needs to bring him back to Ice Rod Cave, yeah. This is probably the best time to check it. You're back in the area. It's not super close by, but this is the closest you're going to be to it. If it's something important, then you're screwed if you leave it behind now.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Unless you
sure.
find
I'm thinking like after Hobo here, he's gonna do Ice Rod Cave and then do waterfall checks. So I think he should be okay. He might just save this.
Goomba, meanwhile, just getting the save and quit point on the old man and heading to escape. I don't blame him at all for this play. He just wants to make absolutely sure he finds his Moon Pearl before he heads over to East Death Mountain to be able to route Dark Death Mountain in with it.
Yeah. And that's definitely stuff that you see, like the best runners do. Is they'll make they'll kind of like check off a lot of boxes before making like kind of a bigger play like that. It does take time to get up the mountain, so making sure that you have everything you possibly could have to optimize your routing before making that plunge is important.
Absolutely. And Zelda, though, after checking Hobo, seems to have save and quit to favor a Houlihan play to get him ever so slightly closer to having 500 rupees to check Zora, which makes a lot of sense. He's a bit further away from Ice Rod Cave now, though, than he just was. I'm a little concerned if he decides to go straight into the portal. Okay, no.
Oh,
It seems he's going
phew.
for it. This is really good for him. This is probably, I mean, this is honestly the smart play anyway, because there's a rock over here where you can farm 20 rupees from every time you walk inside of it, and this is what he wants to do, since he is only 31 rupees away from being able to afford Zora. And
Yeah.
being able to check Ice Rod Cave for his hook shot will be a very lovely byproduct of this dip over here.
Yeah, I'm imagining like a pretty big sigh of relief that like, thank goodness I came back over here to check this.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, so Lynn also picks up flippers, as does Boyne. So just Goomba has not made the dip into Desert Palace yet. I think with that hook shot, he might skip on Desert for now and head up the mountain. Boyne also doing Houlihan here, thinking about the Zora play.
Lynn running really tight on bombs here. Oh, Luck's out on the left side. Oh, but he has a green potion, so he's alright. So long as it doesn't miss every shot with this ice rod, it's not looking good so far.
Lynn, please. Meanwhile, big find in Waterfall Cave there. Zelda just picked up the flute, so we're getting more pieces of this puzzle here. This is interesting.
So it seems as though Zelda would have been fine, even if he had not. Ooh,
Oh, what?
Wow.
Mirror. Yikes.
That is a pretty important desert palace dip, I'd say.
Interesting. Really interesting.
Goomba, though, is going for the East of Mountain play before going to Desert and before going to Zora's Domain as a result. So we'll see what he finds here. But he will not get a chance to find his mirror or his flute up here, which would be very nice for routing.
We're kind of running low on bombs, so having to open up the shop here and pick up a couple extra ones.
Got some Zora money for Goomba in bottom of Paradox Cave. Zelda headed off to activate his flute, while Goomba checks out the top of Paradox Cave. I should expect that we find our Moon Pearl here.
Yeah, it's feeling like
Seems to be what the seed is pointing to, and there's not very much left at all. Although Checkerboard Cave is open.
Checkerboard, and then we've got, I guess, Spiral next, which is a slow, unfortunate check that you are going to have to make at this point.
Yeah. And Goomba's really hoping he just finds his Moon Pearl in there to save him another trip up to Dark Death Mountain later.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because if he can't get up to check these Dark Death Mountain locations now, he's probably not going to do it until he can get into Turtle Rock. So it might be a while before he ventures back up the mountain. Boyne about to pick up his hook shot. Very exciting news.
Lynn also seeming to be headed towards the Zora area. Hopefully also will stop by Ice Rod Cave because he's also short on money. But even if he doesn't, he's going to get the flute out of the waterfall, and Ice Rod Cave will not be very difficult to check. And there's no Moon Pearl on East Step Mountain for Goomba. He probably is going to fall back on Desert Palace at this point.
Yeah, there really isn't too much left on his plate to do. Really puts us down to just a few locations for that Moon Pearl to be. And it's definitely getting to the point in a run where you're almost 20 minutes in, and as we can see with our 4 featured runners here, no one's got Dark World access yet, and everyone, you're starting to get kind of like anxious, like where the heck is this pearl going to be? Alrighty, so Boyne's got his flute. Yeah, Pearl and Checkerboard is a big possibility at this point. We're down to so few locations.
Yeah, is that basically the only location that we haven't seen on any of our 4 runners yet? I think that might be.
Yeah.
The only location left in Logic yet, anyway. Oh, wait, no. We haven't even seen Hera yet from anybody.
Ooh, right. True.
Eastern's still open, but nobody wants to go there without a bow. Especially since there's 2 now in V31. You just don't go to Eastern without a bow.
Yeah.
It's not cool anymore. It's not hip.
I completely forgot about these potential dungeons because we haven't seen any of our runners venture in yet. I like just kind of blanked on that being a possibility. So we do have some more options, just not fun.
Yeah, neither option is great because you don't have a bow for Eastern and you don't have any sort of weapon for Hera, meaning that if you're dipping there, you can't actually kill Moldorm unless you do happen to find a sword or a hammer. Yes, Sheep's Head brings up a good point in chat. We also have not seen the Sick Kid check. Goomba and Lynn each have a bottle that came rather late. I assume Lynn will probably be checking Sick Kid when he goes to activate his flute, however.
Alrighty, so looks like Zelda is going to be first up into Hera here. Our Dark World check. So 5-6 looked like that was Ice Palace and Pod. And we knew from earlier that Thieves Town is our green pendant. Alrighty, so Boyne going for a bit of a spicier play here. He is going to go for Checkerboard, it looks like.
Do you happen to catch what was on Ether Tablet there? I was not looking at Zelga's reading time.
Shoot. I was also not.
Oops.
4
I
screens,
don't suppose
very
anybody in
difficult.
chat caught that. Bombs on ether. Okay, so nothing.
Bombs on ether. So we've got a small key to Hera here. So big key is down in the basement. Zelda is going to be heading down for that.
Yeah, at this point, Herapot is an option. You have the hook shot, but there's not a lot left where your Moon Pearl could be, that if it just so happens to be vanilla, you don't want to accidentally skip it.
This is good. That's a true point, yeah. Wow, Boyne with the plays.
Boy. And he might as well have Herapotted, because Moon Pearl is not in Tower of Hera today. It is in fact Checkerboard Cave. So Bwain is the first of our 4 Restrained Runners to get normal Dark World access, although he still does not have the hammer. It is still myths for Dark World.
That's a nice big brain play that kind of played off. And hey, looks like Lynn is also making that play. So we're going to have 2 of 4 hanging out in the Dark World soon enough.
We'll also see pretty soon if Zelga's play into the basement for the big key did actually pay off or not. Or he's just going to walk up the normal way. Does Zelga maybe not know how to Herapot? Maybe he hasn't learned it. That might be a
It is possible, yeah.
It'll definitely work in his favor if there does happen to be something in the big chest, though, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of fancy little tricks you can learn. I feel like Zelda is a more like straightforward traditional runner. He kicks your butt with really solid routing and excellent execution.
That's very true.
Tricks like the Herapod, he's too good for.
He does climb the whole way up though, without a weapon. Picks up a heart piece, and there is an item on Moldorm from the looks of it, which he cannot yet do anything about.
But he's routed efficiently enough that he's figured it out that maybe it's the checkerboard cave here. So Boyne's going to give us our first look at some of the Dark Death Mountain stuff here. We've got checkerboard. Oh, sorry, we've got a hookshot cave and Super Bunny, which we're in right now.
And Goomba being the last of the 4 to make his play over to the Mire area to pick up his Moon Pearl.
So to answer your question in chat there about the rules for this seed, it is a pretty standard open mode, 7/7, so 7 crystals to get into Ganon's tower, 7 crystals to defeat Ganon. Just kind of a basic seed. That's what we're going to do for all the qualifiers, and that's going to be kind of like the base for groups and brackets in the later stages of the tournament. But what you can do in groups and brackets is kind of add in a couple of small tweaks to the system to make the runs a little bit spicier. We find our first sword in Hookshot Cave there.
That works out really well for Bwain, as he can now clear Hera without issue. The only issue, rather, being that Hera is a pendant, so it might not be worth dipping right away when you have the entire Dark World open to you. We'll see if he plans to go forward with that. Seems he might be, or at least maybe wants to see what's inside in the first couple of chests.
Yeah, given that we are MITs for Dark World access, I imagine that once we've kind of done these checks here on the mountain, most of our runners are going to head for the Skullwoods Thieves Town situation and see what's going on over there. So Zelda is the first heading into the Village of Outcasts here. These are some new checks, so we'll kind of get a little bit more information, see kind of what the seed might be telling us to do next.
Wayne indeed bailing after checking the first 2 chests in Hera.
Yeah, that's I feel like that's a pretty smart play. You've just got so much else open to you. Doesn't make a lot of sense to dive a pendant. There's so much else that you could be exploring. Alrighty, Zelda is in Thieves Town. This is our green pendant. Gives it a little bit of added value in that the green pendant, could be an item that you need. So we might see runners full clear this and maybe route in the drop off of the pendant as they head over to East Dark World a little later in the seed.
It is going to be a hard call, though, without the hammer.
That's an easy call for me, dude. Every time. And if that chest gets me, so be it.
For pendant thieves, though, it's probably a little bit different.
It's
Especially,
true.
ooh, only finding 1 item in the front. There's a pretty solid chance that there's an item in the big chest at this point, so Zelda is not sticking around.
I don't know. If I see, wow, okay, Kana
And there's a
Samaria,
red
that's
cane.
cool.
That is the ability to full clear Misery Mire right there. Very low equipment for it, but it can be done.
That would be interesting. That's a gutsy little dive to make early on in the race. Alrighty, so looks like Zelga is going to do the dig game, and then looks like likely going to route in his way down to the south part of Dark World. Oh, and it looks like Goomba is going to show us Hera Pot. It's pretty new tech here. Clipping into this pot here causes you to fall into it, and then you can use the warp that's inside to move right up to the top part of the dungeon. Does save you a lot of time as long as there's nothing in the big chest of Tower of Hera here, and today we know there is not anything of value.
He does have a weapon too, so yeah, it looks like he's going to go on to finish off Moldorm and pick up the second item we know is here, even though we haven't seen it yet. So this will be the first time anybody on Restream has checked this location. Even though it looks like Lyn is following suit just behind him.
Yeah, nicely done. It looks like Bwain has also stepped out of Thieves Town. No one really wants to make that call to go all the way through another pendant after already taking a look in Hera. You kind of want to maybe get a crystal on the board at this point, and you're just kind of looking around for anything that is that might get you kind of going in that regard.
So what is the Moldorm kill worth today? Not very much. Blue mail is nice, but it's far from anything you want to spend this much time dipping pen in Hera for.
Yeah, definitely not what runners of this caliber want to see. Hey, so Zelda is going to get a sword. That's nice for him. That is our second sword overall. The first one we found in Hookshot Cave. So second one here in Cave 45.
It is Zelga's first sword, though. He has not been to Dark Death Mountain as of yet.
Alrighty, so we're going to see purple chest here. Zelga's going to turn this in. Might check the Bombos tablet just to see what's on it, or he's going to go right for Hype Cave after this.
I think you definitely check the Bombos tablet here.
Yeah,
Even if
I
there's a
agree.
sword in the cave, you still check this, because there's also just a chance you can just ignore whatever's on it, if it happens to be junk. And it does happen to be junk today. Nothing really good behind the book aside from the entire sequence to get into the Dark World.
Ooh, did we see Zelda do Magic Bat? I feel like this is the first time we're seeing this
Don't
check.
believe we did. It's a bit of a time commitment without the hammer doing Magic Bat like this. You have to walk all the way back to your portal. But it does not turn out anything for Dwayne, so he will be not saving quitting. He's gonna flute most likely, but he will lose out on Dark World if he does that. So he probably does just walk back to the portal. It's definitely a lengthy check to be sure, though.
Zelda didn't have the powder, which was in Saha's closet?
Ah, that's right. He has not gone over there just yet. He does pick up another fetch quest item, though, in the form of the mushroom out of Hype Cave, being the only thing of any remote value in Hype Cave.
Yeah, that's it's not great. It's a quick turn in with you know, the flute there, but still not what you want to find. You want to find progression at this point. It's been long enough. You want to be able to get into some dungeons and start clearing some stuff out.
And this madman looks like he's going to dip Swamp Palace without a hammer for that first chest. His other options aren't great, to be fair, and this is the only time he's going to be over here.
So we had Lynn check the pedestal there just to be sure, because we do have fairly decent access into pendants at this point. It was nothing, as it usually is. But yeah, just 10 sticks hanging out there. Yo, we got Zelga heading into Swamp here. I think you might have mentioned this. I'm not sure. Very excited. One chest.
Yeah, just one check. A bit of a pain to get to, but potentially very worthwhile. Especially since this is the only time you're going to be over here for a long time without the hammer. So let's see what we have today. Just the big key.
That's pretty high.
Not very important. Yeah, not worth the dip for certain.
Alrighty, so, you know, again, with not having the hammer, but we do have the flippers, we can kind of make the journey over to Pod this way here, kind of following through the swampy marshes of the Ice Palace area. Ooh, we're going to get the Lake Hylia Island here. Oh, it's a bottle. Okay.
Zelga's first bottle at that. So he might be headed off to check that right away. Yeah. Where was the first bottle that Goomba and Lynn found? I can't remember where that was. But neither Boyne nor Zelga got it.
Oh, Fisher Price shield. Okay, so what do we do next?
Thank you, Jen.
Excellent.
So Zelga finally heading up to Darkdeath Mountain, it seems. He has not done this yet. He will get a sword from Hookshot Cave, but not a whole lot else.
I mean, it's based on what we've seen on the stream so far here, it's feeling like Pod is maybe the answer. Or that mushroom, you know?
Yeah, we've got the mushroom to turn in, we've got Pod, we've got Skullwoods. None of our runners have dipped into there yet, I don't believe. We have Graveyard Ledge and Catfish. And
kind of gross checks, yeah.
And we have Misery Mire open.
That's true. It's kind of interesting. There's actually quite a lot on the table right now, but our runners are kind of doing more or less the same checks.
Yeah.
I'm still a fan of Thieves Town at this point. Like, come on. That green pendant is gonna be something, I'm telling you. Maybe I'm just salty because it got me so bad in a race recently.
I don't know. In these runner shoes, it definitely feels pretty hard to justify dipping hammerless Thieves Town when it's also a pendant. So I can definitely understand. I can definitely understand their aversion towards it.
Definitely, definitely.
Alright, so Blaine gets his mushroom. Possibly will mirror in front of Hype Cave, flute to check that, and then mirror, and then flute back here to mirror and continue on to Palace of Darkness, perhaps? Maybe
I
not.
feel
Maybe
like
he just can that way anyway.
Yeah, Boyne's definitely heading in that direction though. So this will be some new info for us. We haven't seen any of East Dark World. We've got the Pyramid Ledge, catfishes we've been talking about, which is a little bit out there. He might be able to route in the mushroom at the same time. But first, a pit stop at the Lake Hylia Island to pick up that bottle. Alright, so Zelda first with the mushroom to the witch's hut there, so we'll get this check out of him first, see what is hanging out.
Just $20, and he soft resets.
Not having,
he does
yeah,
not know where the powder is just yet.
yeah, exactly.
Dwayne is going to be the first of our Restream runners to check the pyramid, though, and is likely heading in the pod afterwards. And it looks like Goomba's right on his tail as well.
Ooh, Boyne hasn't done parts of Front of Escape, I guess. This is a good time to route it in.
I don't believe he has.
Oh, and Zelda is our first runner to take a look in Misery Mire.
I have been waiting for this play, honestly. It is the only option available to them that they can full clear. Even if it's only got 2 items going for them, it's still just really nice to have a dungeon you can just walk into and clear without having to worry about double dipping.
Yeah.
The equipment is a bit low, only having Master Sword, no bow, no safety items, except for a fairy in a bottle. But I believe at this level of execution, our runners can handle it fairly well.
Yeah, I think it was the second sword was kind of like the tipping point for Zelda. Having picked that up, you know, felt a little more confident going into this dungeon because a fighter sword Vidi is really nasty. So
Yeah,
Master Sword at least makes it, you know, tolerable.
That second sword makes a very significant difference for the Vitreous fight. Because Fighter Sword Vitreous is among one of the worst fights in the game, in my opinion. It's just awful. Especially without a bow. Goomba, though, routing past Pyramid up to Graveyard Lead and Catfish instead of going for the pod dive. Understandable. It's hard to justify making the pod dive when you still got stuff left when you don't have a bow. If you had a bow, that would be pretty different, I think, because that would imply there's something locked behind it in Palace of Darkness. But he gets the cape to potentially pull him away from checking Catfish and pull him over towards Bumper Ledge.
Yeah.
What a spot for that. I don't believe there has been a Bumper Cave check yet, Astronerd. I don't think anybody has touched that general area of the Dark World just yet.
It's not enough to draw Goomba in at this point. He's not thinking that's the play. Zelda, so far through Misery Mire here, haven't found anything of value, but as we've said, it's a crystal. You're just trying to get through a dungeon. 40 minutes in, you want to have something on the board.
Yeah, 40 minutes and no crystals is not the best feeling in the world, even if it is a particularly nasty seed. Finding our first item, just a bottle in the lobby chest.
Alrighty, so Goomba giving us our first look at Catfish. He'll be there momentarily. Alrighty, pulling out the mirror. So after this check, he's going to be done abandoning any possibility of heading down to Pod, I think. He might join Zelda in Mire, I think.
That's my thoughts, exactly. Although, if it does end up being Palace of Darkness, he's in a bit of a weird spot, because he's kind of abandoned any sort of decent path over there. So he might just be hard abandoning Pod right now, hoping that it has absolutely nothing for him. Bwayne with the Bumper Cave check as well, just 20 rupees. Not going to be headed over to Skullwoods, opting instead to head back for Catfish. But yes, Goomba making the Mire play. Lynn also heading over towards Mire. And I get the feeling we might also see Bwayne making that play as soon as he finishes up over here.
Yeah, at this point, it's the only thing that our runners have left that feels like like progress, I guess. You know, there's definitely a couple of spots they could dive, but, you know, everyone's definitely making that call that it's time to get some Crystal Dungeons taken care of.
At this point, though, our remaining options are just dungeons. Pod, Skullwoods, or Mire. One of those has the answer to move forward.
So I wasn't quite keeping up with the chest situation in Misery Mire. Is the second item on Vitreous, or did Zelda just skip out on cutscene?
I believe Zelda did skip cutscene chest, so it's between Vitreous and cutscene chest for the second item. Naturally, Zelda hoping that the item is here, and then likely intends to dip back in if it happens not to be.
Yeah.
Softening up the eyes using a few bombs, because Master Sword is not the greatest weapon against Vitreous.
Yeah, the eyeballs are pretty durable. Take quite a few hits to go down.
He's taken a few hits himself. Luckily, he still does have a fairy in a bottle, so he should be safe, considering he's only down to 2 eyeballs remaining. Yeah, very well executed fight from Zelda. Now just a big eyeball left. I think he's got this.
Yeah, should be good from here. There's a lot of Master Sword slashes, though, but he takes him down.
Very long and drawn-out fight. And for the Bombos Medallion, that gives us access to Hammerless Ice Palace.
All of these options are terrible.
So now the options shift from Skull, Pod, and Mire to Skull, Pod, and Ice. This is a disgusting situation.
It's really gross, yeah. So, Is Zelda checking out Eastern Palace here? Or, oh, he hasn't done, he's the only person that hasn't done Saha's hut yet,
Yeah.
so, right.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Lin walked into Mire maybe about 30 seconds after Goomba did, yeah? So
I think
maybe
so,
did
yeah.
Goomba checking cutscene chest? That might have happened. Lin may have skipped cutscene chest, whereas Goomba might not have. I was too busy watching Zelda fight Vidi. I didn't
Yeah.
notice. Oh, Lin taking a little bit of a beating here. Still with that fairy in a bottle, though, I believe. So even if he does take one more hit, he should be okay.
Alrighty, looks like Zelda is taking that Bombos medallion right into Ice Palace here.
I do like this play.
Yeah,
Mire
it
was in
feels like...
logic.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say probably something similar. That yeah, we've gone to Mire, and it's kind of feeding us little bits here, little bits of kind of breadcrumbs towards what might be next. And I think yeah, making the play, given that you just got the Bombos medallion, is the right call.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that is the right call for exactly that reason. You got all these breadcrumbs leading you to Mire, and then another one leading you to Ice Palace. It's not a great dip without the hammer, but Zelga's definitely banking on the idea that that was a required Mire dip for a required Hammer's Ice Palace dip.
Yeah.
Chloe makes a good point. Hammer sitting in Eastern Palace would be hilarious, considering none of our runners have gone over to check that.
Oh yeah, and all four of them would feel insanely behind at that point.
Looks like Lin went straight for Vitreous, it seems, after finding his big key.
Okay,
Going back to the second item.
we just picked up the boots here in Ice Palace. That's interesting. Gives us King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks, and just generally faster movement, which is nice.
Yeah, so, question. Finding those boots in the first chest of ice, what would you do? Would you keep going without the hammer? Or would you bail to go check boots locations? There's only a couple of them, sure. But the first check in ice isn't that bad to climb back over if the boots are not the answer.
You know, it's
Sure.
you're not wrong. I think that could be a pretty good play. That could boots could be the only thing that's in here. You know, that's worth anything, and that you can reach right now. So, yeah, wouldn't be a bad call. We might see it from one of our runners.
Goomba not heading to Ice Palace just yet. Looks like he's going to be heading off to Skullwoods now. Lin dipping out of Mire. Let's see where he decides to go. He is also headed off to Ice Palace to join Zelda. So we might get a chance to see Lin grab his boots and leave.
There
Definitely
is
a bold
potential.
call, but yeah, not too much of an unreasonable one, considering you don't even have the hammer.
Alrighty, Zelga's going all the way down. We're gonna see the iced tea room. Goomba giving us Skullwoods here. He's checked the middle chest first here, just a small key. That'll help him get a little easier access to the other items potentially in the front part.
Especially due to that new key logic in V31, meaning that the pinball room can actually have items instead of just always a small key now. So having that extra small key is very handy in this situation. Just a net, though. That's one of the two items in Skullwoods. Zelda picking up, I believe, the fourth bottle. So we've seen all of... Oh!
Oh, wow.
It was just in Skullwoods the whole time. Alright.
That's interesting.
So Bombos is complete bait. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really rough. Oh, so he's gonna check Bumper Ledge now and probably head off to combo Swamp Palace and Ice.
Yeah.
That seems like the best play to make here, now that you found that. Wow, it was just there. Like, it might as well have been an Eastern. It really might as
Yeah.
well have been. That's oh, wow. And there's a lot of people, too, who will get to the Dark World, start their route with the front of Skullwoods. And for them, that hammer is free. Like, none of our runners on Restream did that, but there are probably a bunch of other runners in this race that just went straight to their hammer at like the 25 or 30-minute mark and have had that
Easily.
for a very long time.
Yeah, most definitely.
Crazy how every single one of our runners managed to skip it.
Alrighty, so Goomba's going to be doing Swamp Palace here. Going to be some new scenes for us to see. Zelda doing those boots checks. King's Tomb, just some money. Though after doing these boots checks, he might then just head over and do Skullwoods as well. So he might be on track to pick up that hammer soon enough.
Yeah, he's pretty close by for sure. Even though it is going to inevitably sting after having dipped Ice Palace without it. It's such a free hammer, too.
Yeah.
Wayne, meanwhile, making the play up to... I guess, yeah, he had not checked either of the items in here before. He only dipped for the first 2 chests. Did not find any items, so this makes sense. He is understandably hesitant to dip Ice Palace without a hammer. But if he's trying to put off Ice Palace, I do also see him going to Skullwoods first. So
yeah, because
next for him.
Yeah, those checks are quicker than a dive into Ice Palace, so we might see him go there next. You're right on that one, I think.
Yeah, just considering where he seems to be putting his priorities right now.
Alrighty, so Zelda, fast approaching the hammer location here in Skullwoods. He'll be back on track, chasing Goomba at this point. Blue mail off of Moldorm, not the prize Brain wants to see, but he'll also probably be heading towards the Skullwoods area as well, as you've said. Seems likely. I guess the only benefit for Zelda and Lyn, even though they've wasted a bit of time in Ice Palace, is, I mean, having those boots, they'll be able to go a little bit faster. Having that before Goomba or Boyne.
They also get a free Tempered Sword out of the deal. So, not exactly the best consolation prize, but... I mean, hey, I wouldn't say no to it. I wouldn't say no to it. It's pretty good. Definitely not worth the Hammerless Ice Dip, but definitely not bad either. So Wayne is finally here in Skullwoods, going to pick up his hammer momentarily. Lyn also likely headed there shortly, if not immediately. Oh, nope. Headed back to Desert first, or to the Mire area.
It's probably Desert, I guess, because he's already cleared out everything else here.
Yeah, there is still one item, and he, having dipped Ice without the hammer, absolutely wants those boots to pay off in some fashion.
And so far through Swamp Palace here, nothing too exciting. We found a shovel, so another fetch quest item. Goomba hasn't done left side, though, so he might dip back in there. I haven't been keeping count of the items found so far. At this point, he might even skip it. Getting that hammer so late, he might just make a gamble and not do left side at all.
That would definitely be an understandable call to make, especially since you've still got all of Ice Palace open to you. There's also a few hammer spots here and there scattered about. You can check the first chest in Turtle Rock, potentially more than that. You can check hammer pegs. You have not touched Pod yet, but you can get there much more quickly now. He does have a good number of better options than left side at this point, even though he is as close as he's ever going to get to it. Speaking of hammer pegs, though, getting that right now from Bwayne, just 50 bucks.
Ooh, Goomba going back in. So playing a little bit conservative here, just wanting to, as I guess at this point, having already kind of, goofed on the hammer a little bit, thinking that you don't want to miss anything else at this point. Let's just finish everything off 100% and, hopefully we find something here. If not, peace of mind, at least.
Yeah. This is definitely a very safe play to make.
Now, Bwayne's taking that hammer, and he's going to be showing us Spike Cave here. This is our first check of this location. At least I assume that's what he's doing.
That seems to be the case, yeah. I think if he were headed to Turtle Rock, he would have just taken the hookshot route over to the other side of the mountain. So what will Spike Cave give us? It is well within logic, so it gives us nothing, naturally.
Of course, right? Yep.
But that kind of play definitely shows that Bwayne is feeling very behind after that late hammer.
Yeah. Alrighty, so just a couple of new checks here on the left side. Swamp from Goomba in just a few. It's pretty rough that we're an hour in and, just 2 crystals on the tally for a couple of runners here. It does feel like the back half of the seed is going to be pretty quick, so some of these dungeons that are still outstanding, I imagine they're just going to kind of fall like dominoes. But it's tough when you're an hour in and you're like, why have I not made more progress here?
Yeah, definitely. This is just one of the nastier slow seeds, at least for our 4 restream runners. If you dipped Skullwoods after entering the Dark World, you're probably wondering what the issue is.
Yeah, really.
What's everyone's problem with this seed? It's so easy. But the left side not paying out for Goomba, unfortunately. And he's going to go check the shovel to make sure that Swamp wasn't just completely empty.
So Bwayne is in Ice Palace here. He's got the hammer, so he will be first to get through this dungeon. We've seen 2 of the 3 items available to us, so there's just one more hanging around somewhere, probably on that hammerlocked side.
And with the dig spot being checked, it is completely garbage, meaning a swamp was worthless aside from the crystal.
Yuck.
Very much a go-modable dungeon.
Alrighty, well, we're an hour in, and to anyone who kind of joined in late to the broadcast here, this is the first qualifier of the Link to the Past Randomizer Fall Tournament. Well, Fall Tournament, it's a 2019 tournament, I guess. We are doing 16 qualifiers over the course of the next 3 weeks. Runners have to compete in at least 5, and the scores that we're basing the our next round, the group stage of the event, will be based on top percent. I think it's top 3 or top 5, kind of depending on how big the qualifier is, their time, and then how other runners in the race fare. We're going to do little scores based on that to determine our seeding for the 128. I don't think I described that too well. I tried.
That's
I
all
got
that
kind
matters.
of, yeah. First qualifier of 16. We're having fun.
Yeah, that's the main takeaway from this. I think you may be right, Fear. It's looking like there's not a lot of options left, mainly just Pod and Eastern, that nobody, at least on Restream, has gone to yet.
It might be about time to head over in that direction, unless you're really going for a kind of an odd gamble to go into Turtle Rock for potentially only one chest. It's one of the more dense locations left, Eastern and Pod.
Yeah, the Turtle Rock play at this point is definitely a very I'm feeling extremely behind sort of play. I think we're still looking for that third item here in Ice Palace, correct?
Alrighty, so as everyone's kind of going over locations that we've already seen before, fighting bosses that we've seen before, just a quick shout out to our trackers today, clicking those buttons behind the scenes. We've got literally Jen and Merc249 doing a great job for us. Much appreciated. Show them some love.
And that was our third item out of Ice Palace right there. 20 bucks on the right side. So Ice Palace also, aside from the boots, pretty empty. Yes, Cyclone. Right side DP did get checked by at least Lynn. I know Lynn checked that, but there was nothing of value over there. So gotta wonder what the play is after Ice Palace, because each of our runners currently in Ice Palace are kind of running out of stuff to go do.
Yeah.
At this point, the options are, yeah, Pod Eastern would be the densest area as far as checks go. You get potentially 8 items you can find from there. We also have Green Pennant Thieves Town, which has 3 items plus an additional 4th off the Green Pennant, which would also route nicely into the Pod Eastern play.
Yeah, we might see, our runner at least finish off Thieves Town to have that green pendant for their play over to Eastern Pod, and Blaine might be showing us that. Or he's checking
taking a
pedestal.
bit of a long route. Yeah, probably checking pedestal. This
has been a bit of a tough seed for our featured 4 here. all of them missing the hammer, which was pretty free in Skullwoods there. So you're not seeing necessarily like panic or tilt or anything, but just like a little bit of like, what have I done wrong in the seed? Have I made a mistake? And kind of making some more, I don't know, interesting plays to try and make up for it. So thinking pedestal might be the thing is definitely what Wayne was going for there.
Yeah. At this point, our runners probably are feeling a little bit desperate for some really dumb item placement to trip up anybody who might have found their hammer relatively early. Since
Yeah,
they
because
are
I get
at a pretty major disadvantage for not doing that.
Yeah, so yeah, they would be thinking that if I just follow the hammer, I'm not going to get ahead.
Exactly.
Because I'm already so far behind, right? Yeah.
You got to kind of hedge your bets on something that's going to take a while for anybody else to do. It's got to be something dumb, or else you're just really, really far behind.
Okay, looks like Lynn is going to be first over to the Pod Eastern area. Heading into the Dark World first. We'll see if he goes in to Pod or if he mirrors for Eastern first. Remains to be seen.
I'd be slightly tempted to start with Pod in this scenario. Simply because it's a bit easier to get back to get to the boss of Pod than it is to get to the boss of Eastern. Like, if you're wanting to go into either dungeon and then not be able to clear it, I'd say Pod is probably the better one there.
Yeah, a couple more items, and yeah, I would probably do the same. I would do a Pod first and then Eastern.
It looks like Zelda's going to be catching up on some really early game checks here. Only just now making it to the front of Escape.
So Goomba knocking off King's Tomb here. Just clearing all of the overworld before making dungeon dives, it seems like, is kind of been the strategy that all Forerunners have been employing, is just to clear out a lot of those kind of one-off weird locations.
Hold up. We got Lynn going for some shenanigans here. Oh, wow. How often do you see this in a race? This is such an obscure application of hovering that it actually lets you essentially do a skip onto the bow side of Pod. But he doesn't
gave it a couple of tries, but
yeah, he gave it a good couple of tries, but it's a really difficult trick to get down. I believe it's like double pixel perfect, and on top of that, you're hovering the whole time. So
he's gonna go the standard route through this, though, just with the mimic clip here.
Yeah, he's got
bottle
his green
glitch.
potion. He's got a way out there. He just wanted to. I think he just wanted to try to show off with something potentially a little faster.
Alrighty, so some new stuff here on the bow locked side. So this is not going to be the bow. It could be the fire rod, I suppose, at this point in the race, seeing as you haven't seen that yet.
It could actually be a bow because bow's a progressive.
It could.
It would be.
That's true. I forgot about that.
But yeah. But unfortunately, just a heart container and a small key. Not too bad, but also nothing terribly useful.
So yeah, as chat's pointing out, Zelda is heading into Thieves Town here. He's going to check out the back part. There's 3 items back here, plus the green pendant. Why not give it a go at this point? If you're really going to put off Eastern Pod until you have the bow, this is one of your last options.
unfortunately for our runners too. If the answer were as simple as like the rest of the seed is simply just locked behind the hammer and swamp or ice, then they wouldn't stand as good of a chance to make the comeback here, as they do with this particular situation, where you're diving either Bowless Eastern or Bowless Pod or Pendant Thieves Town for your answer. This will hopefully serve to decrease the gap in between them and anybody else who might have gotten their hammer relatively early. So in their position, this is actually kind of a good thing.
Mm-hmm. So still not seeing anything in pod here. Just the big chest remaining. Piece of heart.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So Lynn definitely going to be following up with Eastern at this point. And meaning that if he finds anything in here, it's been available for the entire seed. So it'd be very interesting to see what's in here.
Yeah, we're really getting down on location. So I mean, it's popping up as possibly being the spot. But yeah, feels bad if it's here all. Okay, gonna check the big chest here. We've got 2 items left in Thieves Town, so big chest and blind, both holding something, and then we'll have green pendants. So this is gonna be interesting to see what Zelda's got for it. Oh, fire rod hanging out in the big chest of Thieves Town.
Definitely a very required Thieves Town dip. So yeah, hammer and Skullwoods for your fire rod in the big chest of Thieves Town. A Pendant Thieves Town. That's pretty cool, right? Everybody's a big fan of that.
Cool.
I'm sure runners
cool.
must be enjoying themselves right now with what's currently going on. Oh wow. That's a little rude. But
yeah,
also,
so
it just rewards you that much more if you find the hammer like immediately after getting to the Dark World. If you go check Skullwoods, get your hammer, and then make the decision to dive Pendant Thieves Town, then that gets the fire rod out of the way really early for you, as well as the hammer.
yeah, so I mean, with that early on, with the fire rod early on, and having picked up basically all the medallions and the ice rod as well fairly early, the turtle rock play becomes pretty valuable for anyone who did this stuff early in the seed. And now I'm thinking that's probably where the bow is hanging out.
I'm like 95% certain that our bow is in Turtle Rock at this point.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate for Lynn after, a really valiant effort diving both Eastern and Pod. Looks like he's going to come up empty.
So it seems Skullwoods Independent Thieves Town is just the seed winning play that none of our runners made, unfortunately. Each of them opting to skip out on their hammer for a good 50 or so minutes.
It's kind of surprising, interesting, any kind of adjective you can think of. Because it used to be that, like, if you had mitts for Dark World access, that like a quick dip into Skull was kind of like a given, especially in the front part there. Picking up that hammer, you might even go right into Thieves Town after that. So potentially, yeah, like you could have been, on your way ages ago. All right, so Boyne is going for the Pod Eastern play here. Don't blame him at all. You don't want to dip Thieves Town, really, Moth goes down for Zelda, just the map on there. he can see kind of the end in sight at this point. So that's good for him. He's, you know, and we've got Goomba heading over to Dark Death Mountain as well, heading for Turtle Rock.
Goomba definitely sees that bow somewhere in Turtle Rock, as do I. It's such an obvious location at this point.
Yeah.
You just got your fire
Given
out. You figure it's got to put something in logic, right? And the only thing left at this point is the bow.
Yeah.
And I think the only other thing unchecked at this point is Sahasrara himself.
Yeah.
So it's between Turtle Rock and Sahasrara for the bow's location, and I definitely have to put my money on Turtle Rock in this instance.
Yeah, it'd
And
be pretty wild if.
will as well.
I think so. Yeah, just the density. Your odds are so much better that it's going to be in TR. So unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit while longer before Bwain or Lynn makes their way over to Thieves Town there. Doing a couple more overworld checks here for Lynn. Alrighty, just getting started here into Turtle Rock.
Zelda following just behind Goomba here. It's only a matter of time before that bow shows up.
Yeah,
But I'm certain it's going to be in here.
I agree, yeah. Is it going to be really rude? Is it going to be on Laser Bridge, or is it just going to be in the first couple chests?
Probably just on Laser Bridge, honestly. That's where it usually ends up whenever there's progression in TR. You get the occasional Crystal Roller progression, but Laser Bridge is usually the culprit.
Yep. So Lynn is exhausting all options, I think, here before going into Thieves Town, kind of in the same vein as Bwain here. Just no desire to go back into Thieves Town here. So it's going to cost them, but, you know, if you kind of make a call on a dungeon and you're just like set that if it's in here, then I'm last locationing it, then that's, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. And headed back to Ice Palace now. Not gonna find anything they're looking for here besides just a crystal, but the crystal alone is pretty worth it.
Definitely starting to see how the Pod Eastern dip has really eaten up a lot of time for both Bwain and for Lynn. I was surprised to see Lynn going into to Ice Palace here. I thought he might have already been done it, but he's still got this one to do before even going into to Thieves. So it's kind of rough at this point, no doubt.
Goomba checking the big chest before going for Mimic Cave. Definitely the right thing to do if you're one item for go mode, and just pointlessly trying to hover the gap just for swag.
What a guy. What a guy.
Absolutely no reason to do it, but he does it anyway. What a show off. But of course he fails, so. kind of backfired on him just a little bit.
Just a big 20 hanging out in the Mimic Cave there. Wow! What happened there, Zelda?
Thank goodness for that fairy. That would have been a really nasty time loss if he didn't have that. But here we have Boyne finally making the play back to Thieves Town, which is exactly what he needs to do.
He's got literally nothing left. So he knows that something is in here, and he feels bad about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I see him even just mirroring out straight after the fire rod, honestly. Like, he probably doesn't even finish the dungeon. Like, at this point,
you know what?
You need that to work. Like, you need to just get your progression and go. Oh,
and as we're talking about Boyne,
it looks like we missed the bow. What we were talking about, what Brain is doing. Crystal Roller Room bow for go mode for Goomba here. So Zelda will be getting that very shortly as well.
Still missing a small key here for getting into Trinex, so we will have to check out a laser bridge at least to see what chest that key is hanging out in. Ugh, of course, it's going to be the last chest he checked. Well, third.
All right, third chest, not too bad.
Not so bad.
Zelda gets his bow, is now in go mode.
Alrighty, so Butter Sword should make quick work of Trinex here. No problem for going for the 0 cycle here.
Gets it effortlessly.
Piece of cake.
Very well done. Boyne picks up his fire rod and does not immediately mirror out. Maybe he just checks blind cell and then goes after that. I would understand that as well. Well, he does intend to finish the dungeon. There is still an item on blind after all. But the answer...
Again, I guess... Go ahead.
Sorry, you can go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, much like we saw Goomba do left side swamp kind of earlier to not leave anything behind, Boyne's probably thinking the same thing. If for some silly reason the bow is hanging out on blind, you don't want to leave that behind at this point.
Yeah, that's true. You could try to hedge your bets because there are 2 bows. If there does happen to be one on blind, there may also just be one in Turtle Rock. Or in the back. No, there was... Both items are in the front of Skull. Let's ignore that. So it would be Turtle Rock. The only thing walking behind that fire rod. But he gets his Butter Sword off of blind, and will potentially go turn in that green pennant before he heads to Turtle Rock. I still don't believe we've seen Sahasrahla yet. Imagine if Sahasrahla just has the other bow. That would actually be a pretty decent time save. Because then you wouldn't have to climb back up the mountain again. He's not going for it, though. He's just going straight to Turtle Rock, which is, yeah, definitely very understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn now making his play into Thieves Town to get his fire rod. Maybe he will be the one to finally just mirror out after their progression. But I've been internally screaming at these runners to just do it once they find their fire rod.
Alrighty, so I can't quite remember where the big key was here in pod. It was somewhere a little further in the back there, so not a quick and easy
I want to say it was
go mode.
I want to say it was in the dark basement, but I could be
Yeah.
wrong. And I think Eastern was in the cannonball chest. Okay, yeah. Pod big key is apparently in the dark basement. Thank you, Wolflink.
Alrighty. I guess for anyone who tuned in a little bit late here, this seed has been an interesting one. Our Dark World access was Mitts with a Moon Pearl in the Checkerboard Cave, which is a pretty unusual situation. Our runners have to have the flute, the mitts, and the mirror to get access to that location at that time. As Lynn picks up his fire rod there. So definitely, what a guy.
Mirror. The bows in Turtle Rock, you know this. You must know this.
Nah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. So that definitely kind of made it a bit of a slow start. And all four of our featured runners, once we got into the Dark World, did a lot of overworld clearing and missed out on the hammer, which was hanging out in Skull Woods. Pretty free, pretty quick to get to, but took our runners a little while to get there. That was kind of one of the key points to this seed, is to grab that early. Your fire rod being behind it, and then just access to a bunch of dungeons. So anyone who did that, picked up that hammer early, would be in pretty good shape. Our runners have kind of been scrambling to make up after that.
So Lynn taking down Blind, picking up his very worthless butter sword, and heading straight to Skullwoods with that fire rod. Potentially looking for whatever checks he can find before he heads up the mountain to potentially find a bow to prevent him from having to climb the mountain twice. But the only place that one could be at this point is Sahasrara, so we'll have to see if he does go turn in that green pendant before climbing the mountain.
So yeah, Zelda and Goomba pretty close here, but Zelda does have Skull Woods already taken care of. That's a pretty quick dungeon, but still it's going to cost Goomba at least, I don't know, 3 minutes total time back on track after it. But we still got to take care of Eastern Palace or anywhere close to Ganon's Tower. So Zelda will be the first runner to head that way, but that'll only be after Eastern here.
2 quick hits from the Butter Sword, and Helmasaur is down. Very simple with a level 4 sword. And a very well done fight by both runners here.
Mothula really camping the top part of the screen there for Lynn. That's really annoying. You just want to get him pulled off of those spikes there, and he's just not cooperating.
Yeah, definitely a rough pattern. There we go. He's got him down now. So Zaga slightly ahead of Goomba heading into Eastern Palace. Still up, the Skullwoods clear as well. So pretty decent 3-minute lead or so on Goomba at the moment. And will hopefully keep that as he heads into GT afterwards.
Yeah, GT could swing things a little bit, but depending on how we decide to route the basement.
Yeah, it'll definitely help him keep the edge, just in case of errant GT routing.
Definitely.
Wayno, having just picked up his bow, is now in go mode. And still has to run through the gauntlet of Pod Eastern Skullwoods. Lynn headed up to Turtle Rock now, going to hit his go mode in a matter of only a few minutes.
Alright, so Armos Knights should go down no problem. We should see some pretty nice quick kills from these runners, all of whom are capable of taking the Armos Knights down really fast.
Yeah, and Zelda just went from 1 room ahead of Goomba to 2 rooms ahead of Goomba, all the way through Eastern Palace. Zelda is definitely one of the runners with probably the best execution in the entire scene, if I had to be honest. He placed.
I would definitely agree.
Yeah, I believe he placed top 4 in the spoiler tournament this last summer. So definitely some of the best execution you'll ever see in this game comes from Zelda.
So solid quick kill from both. Zelda now has all 7 crystals, finally. So he's heading for GT. And there's numbers in the chat. I'm not sure if we're doing the big key guessing game. We could probably start
do
something
it.
up, but if not, anyways, the numbers in the chat indicate that we're looking for the Ganon's Tower Big Key. It can be in one of 22 locations in the basement. So put your numbers in the chat there, 1 to 22. Where do we think the GT Big Key is going to be?
Where do you think it's going to be today, Sabo?
Yikes. I don't know. It's probably going to be, I'm going to say Rando Room. If you do like Hope Room and then go left after that, it's like, I don't know, chest 12, I'm going to say.
I'm feeling the top left chest in the vanilla Big Key chest room. So just past Ice Armos.
Okay.
And yes, for those confused in chat, we do not have a bot available right now. So it's going to be an unofficial Big Key guessing game, but we can still have fun with it.
Yeah.
Zelda cracking open GT. Definitely milking his lead over Goomba here, who has to go clear out Skullwoods first. It's going to give him a pretty significant advantage, finding his big key and making his way up the tower first.
Yeah, he's in pretty good shape to finish first, I would say, on the restream here.
Yes.
He's going to go right first, take a peek at the 2 chests in Hope Room.
He does find a small key, but still opts to head the left side first.
Zelda's usually a Dark Magician strat guy, so I'm surprised to see him go for the Hope Room first and then go left here. Not as usual, but maybe he's just thinking he's a little behind, trying to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe playing safe with the standard routing strategy here. Definitely can't blame him for that.
No, not at all.
Find a Cane of Burna. The other armor, and a couple small keys.
All right, we're gonna get the fire bar room here. Oh, no boomerangs this seed, so having to use the Canis Amaria here on these crystal switches.
I've just gotten so used to using boomerangs. It just feels gross using the Canis Maria or bombs.
Yeah, right?
Pretty rare that you don't have either boomerang at this point in the seed as well.
especially with how thorough our runners have been through the race here. There was no skips made. So I mean, where are these darn boomerangs?
Clearly, the 4th chest on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we did see the blue one on the floating island, according to Falfon in chat. But the red one is yet to be seen anywhere.
Oh, rip rando room.
So that brings a total to, what? 7, 8, 9, 13, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's 13 so far. As Goomba enters GT here. Now, if he goes right with that one key, and it's in Compass Room, he might be able to make up some time here on Zelda.
Yeah, at this point, I think the best case scenario is that he sort of is neck and neck with Zelda going up the gauntlet. But he could definitely make up a lot of time here.
Or
and
not.
Bob's chest. All right. So Goomba's still got a way to go. Zelga's still got a comfortable lead. So that was chest number 14. So anybody who guessed 14 is the winner of today's unofficial Big Key guessing game.
Alrighty, so at this point, we're heading up the tower. Looks like Zelga's primed for like about a 1:45 finishing time. It should take him no more than 7 minutes at this point to get up there and to Ganon.
Having a little bit of trouble with the mimics. Probably just nerves at this point in the seed. Feeling like you're behind for the majority of the seed, and then you get to the end. Maybe you're looking at IRC, seeing people finish.
Or you're just,
Either way.
It's that tension that kind of builds as you climb the tower. Like
exactly.
You've come this far. You just want to get it done.
Only a few minutes left. So you're worried about who else is going to finish during that time. It's definitely a lot of reason to have pretty heavy nerves during this segment of the run.
Using the bow for the first room and then switching out to Fire Rod. I like Fire Rod for the remaining rooms of the gauntlet here. Usually a little bit quicker.
Definitely for the Stalfos. The Fire Rod, unlike most other enemies, just immediately kills Stalfos. They don't have a sitting and burning animation to play through. So definitely a very quick and efficient way to kill them. Especially since they also don't jump away at a Fire Rod shot.
Zelga a little low on health, but choosing not to powder the anti-fairy there. Just gotta get to the finish line. Don't want to waste any more time, and trust your execution.
And a very clean Landmo too, as well. Definitely some well-placed trust in that execution. Goomba, meanwhile, not too far behind, making his way down to Bob's chest to pick up his big key. Only, I'd say, about 3 to 4 minutes behind Zelga at this point.
Yeah, Zelga's definitely maintained that edge from having taken care a little earlier. Just time that you can't really make up. It would have if the GT had kind of played out a little bit differently. Goomba could have made that time back up. It would have been pretty close going up the tower, but yeah.
At this point, it's an unlikely lead to make up on Zelga, but he can still finish pretty respectably, only a few minutes behind.
Definitely.
Dwayne and Lynn, on the other hand, definitely got the shorter end of the stick, diving Pod Eastern. Definitely the denser play at the time when their only options were Pod Eastern, Thieves Town, and Turtle Rock, but paying heavily for it. As you can see here, there's still a couple dungeons. Well, Dwayne only 1 dungeon, Lynn only 2 away from actually being able to enter GT.
Wow, so the chest before Moldorm here holding the second bow are silver arrows for the run here. That's a chest that some runners could skip if they're, set on just going right for Agatu and Ganon. They might not pick that up.
That is a
Zelga
really nice
does.
Location for him.
Just makes the last couple bits of the run a little bit easier. That doesn't save a lot of time. A lot of these runners can take care of Silverless Ganon, no problem, especially with the Butter Sword, easy peasy. but silver's always nice. Gets a double on the first hit. They were pretty good. It was kind of an awkward pattern, so you'll take that.
Aga not really playing nice with all these blue balls. Turning some somewhat alright patterns into not very good ones. But he's got it.
He's got him.
Wayne, meanwhile, has picked up his 7th crystal and is climbing up the mountain to GT. Goomba beginning his climb up through the gauntlet. Lynn closing in on his 6th crystal and then immediately jumping over to his 7th. But Zelda, ahead of them all, about to drop down into Ganon. This should be a very, very simple fight for him as well. Butter Sword,
definitely.
Silver Arrows, Blue Mail, 13 Hearts, and I believe at least one safety. He's got Blue Cane if he needs it. He might also have something in a bottle. But this is certainly not a difficult fight in his position.
Already into phase 3 here. Ganon, please.
Okay, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Only 4 teleports there. And he puts himself in the corner. But Zelda can squeeze out a nice triple setup just like that. Oh, but he misses the last shot, but that's alright. And that is GG for Zelda Dyson. Pig is down, and he only has a few more seconds of fanfare before he steps in and finishes the race.
And Zelda finishes up with an official SRL time of 1:44:04. That's good enough for first on our restream here, but 7th overall in the qualifier. James, who finished ahead, winner of this qualifier was Koi with a time of 1:35:07. Nicely done. Trinex in 2nd place, 1:39:11. Matt 7898. See, did I miss 3rd place there? Adium in 3rd place with 1:40:46. Matt 7898 4th with 1:41:10. Gerdo in 5th place, 1:42:57. Gem in 6th with 1:43:10.
So GG's to Zelda for that 7th place finish. In a race of 99 different people, 7th is very respectable.
Definitely. Put him in good shape for the qualifiers so far. Let's see if we can get him in the chat here and see what he thought. We're now joined by Zelgadison. GG's, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. GG's.
GG's. So, that hammer, I have a question for you about that. On a scale of 1 to 10, please rate the existential dread you felt when you found that hammer.
Is 10 actually just the maximum? Because, oh man, it was awful. So one of my big things that I will always get burned by in every single seed I play is if the front of Skullwoods without the fire rod is required, and especially with Mitts access, because I just justify it in my head. It's like, oh, it's really quick. I can get back there anytime I choose. If it's like an Agaseed and you go by it, like, okay, I can do that. I'll just do it. If you have Mitts, Glove and Hammer, it's like, well, it takes a while to go through the portal. Maybe I'll dip into Skullwoods. With Mitts, never. I never do it. And I'm kind of wondering if it ended up being a blessing. I'm guessing pretty much everybody else missed the fire rod for a long time. But, man, that hammer felt awful.
As far as everybody on Restream, everybody actually missed the hammer for a long time as well. You were, I believe, the first one to find it.
Oh wow, that's a very surprising. I really thought that the hammer was gonna be the death of me.
I guess like everyone kind of was routing it similarly to you. You know, the strategy to just if you can go back to Skullwoods at any time is real quick and easy to get that check taken care of. So it seems like you're not the only one that kind of subscribes to that mentality.
Yeah, that really is interesting. I figured probably what ended up happening was maybe someone got the hammer from Skullwoods a lot earlier, but then just went ahead and bailed on Thieves Town and just missed the fire rod. Or maybe you went in and did Thieves Town without the hammer or something like that. That because I could see that being a thing, but I didn't have a weapon at the time that could hurt blind because I went in before doing the C-shaped house, which had Samaria. So I didn't have a way to kill blind, so I wasn't going to keep going.
I guess after that point, the seed, I mean, the hammer was just such a bottleneck for you guys. You guys did basically everything you could to avoid picking it up. After that, though, it felt like the seed was linear, would you say?
Yeah, it could be because I had done a lot of other things, but as soon as I found the fire rod, I was like, well, okay, obviously the bow's in Turtle Rock. So it was just going to be go do that. But I didn't have too many other options, so it kind of made sense to just follow it right there. And I was really feeling bad about kind of avoiding Pod and Eastern for so long, but as the time kept adding up and there was no like immediate finishes at like 110, 115, I was like, it's probably not just sitting there.
Mm-hmm. And as we were chatting here, Goomba has just finished up. So I see the GG's in the chat. Throw some more in there for him. Goomba has finished up with an official SRL time of 147.59. Good enough for 11th place. So still a pretty solid finish. Only 4 spots behind Zelda here in 7th. So we had Big Dunka finish in 8th, 144.35. Zero Rush in 9th, 145.14. Nimban 10th place, 147.24. And then Goomba in 11th there.
Just barely missing the top 10 finishers for this race. But still, overall, a very respectable position. Still taking top 11%, roughly.
Yeah, I guess that's what it would be, yeah. Pretty big race, huh? It's good to see, good to see. I guess we'll try and pull Goomba in here, see if we can get him in for a little chat. He can give us his thoughts on it as well. All right, wait just a second. Yeah, I don't know, Zelda. What else stood out to you in this one?
One thing I remember from really early is that I came very close to abandoning the hookshot in Ice Rod Cave because I went to Mini Moldorm, to Dam, to Desert. If there was anything besides the flippers or I guess the flute in Desert, I don't know when I would have got around to getting that hookshot.
That's right. Those flippers really did save your butt. Alrighty, looks like we were being joined by Goomba. GG's, buddy.
Hey, GG.
GG's.
Yeah, GG's.
So the big question that we also ask Zelda, and we'll ask you as well, how did you feel about that hammer?
I don't know. Not great, obviously, but I didn't feel terrible about it. The only thing I really felt bad about was the whole Pyramid Graveyard Ledge Catfish thing. That wasn't great.
That's right. You did kind of burn a little bit of time there.
But I mean, I didn't do Hammerless Thieves Town. I didn't go into Ice Palace. I didn't go into Potter Eastern, anything like that. So I don't know.
Avoiding ice was pretty good as well for you. We did see runners dip in without the hammer. That was Zelga, you, and Lynn as well, I think. Both dipped without. So that gave you the boost a little earlier, but yeah, good to kind of dodge that play.
Also, I would like to apologize in advance. I'm sick, so I'll try not to cough in your ears too much, but no promises. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel obviously I didn't feel good about the hammer, but I didn't feel terrible about it either, because I could have wasted a lot more time before getting it.
Yeah, and there were those of you on Restream who did. It was a bit unfortunate.
I'm just glad it was where it was, because if it wasn't there, I was going into Thieves Town next, and, well, my fire rod would have probably been sitting there for a while.
Yeah. But it seems like just in general, both of you guys here right now, the strategy was to play a little more conservative and just be very thorough in your checks. I noticed that we saw left side swamp, no gambles to leave that behind or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I figure I'm a good enough player that if I just play very, very conservatively, I will almost certainly qualify, so I'll just not take risks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking something similar, but at the same time, the philosophy meant I probably should have just dove into Skullwoods immediately. So
Same.
I
That
was kind of
like
like a mixed bag.
That was like the one deviation I made, and well, you know what that meant.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Wow.
I think the thing I felt the worst about getting the hammer so late was sitting there slashing Vitreous for a good 2 years. That's fun.
Yeah, early on, it did seem, based on the kind of the knowledge that we had between our Restream runners here, that doing Misery Mire, getting that Bombos medallion, like it seemed like that was the way to kind of go, but that led you guys into that Mire dip pretty early with a little bit less equipment than necessary that you would. As Boyne finishes up the Ganon fight, put your GGs in the chat for Boyne. Excellent job there. Let's see if we can get his time.
Excuse me.
Boyne finishes in 23rd place overall in the qualifier with a time of 1:53.28. So not too bad considering how many people are. Maybe not the result he was hoping for.
Yeah, definitely at that
But we'll see if we.
most of the finishes have started to roll in, and even though there's not an enormous difference between him and Goomba, only about 6 minutes, there's still an enormous number of finishers who came in between them.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, finish time is what matters, not placement.
Mhm.
Right.
So it's not that bad.
Nah. All right, let's see if we can get Boyne in here. Yo, Boyne, welcome to the party. GG's, man.
Hey,
Jeez.
Sabo. Hey, GG's, everybody.
Yo, GG's.
GG.
So, as we've seen with our other runners here, hammer was kind of the issue, huh?
Yeah, forget the boot start seeds. Can we just have hammer start seeds? That'd be a lot easier.
Can we like ban mints for Dork World access? Is that a thing?
It gets really tricky. I was listening to some of the interview before I jumped on here, obviously, and yeah, like everybody else, there's not a huge incentive to play wild and crazy in these, so you kind of just want to play it safe. But I'm not sure that even if I get that hammer out of Skull first thing in the Dark World, there's a pretty good chance I don't go in Thieves for a long time anyway. So I don't know how much time it really would have saved me. And, you can clear out so much of the Dark World with Mitts and Mirror, and you can flute back to any place you feel like you want to sequence a little bit differently. So, yeah, I guess it really hurts if it's exactly hammer, and then progression is exactly in the worst hammer spot, because, obviously I leave Skullwoods at, whatever, an hour and 5 minutes with the hammer and say, well, I can't do Thieves because everybody else probably would have done Thieves. It's rough, but that's also rando, so can't complain too much.
Yeah. We actually noticed that. I think that you guys, after getting the hammer, you all kind of thought, oh, people have had this for ages. You were making plays still on locations that were kind of one-offs, or maybe things that people wouldn't think of first off. We definitely made a note of that.
Yeah, I picked up hammer and immediately felt like, I have to do Peg Cave. And then I said, Spike Cave's in logic, so let's just take a shot in the dark and then go to the worst hammer spot that other people would have put off, which was ice, which got me the boots, but boots didn't lead to anything, so that didn't really pan out.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have gone back to Thieves before Eastern and Pod, but I was feeling pretty bad at that point anyway, so figured we've stayed away from thieves. Why not stay away a little bit longer? I mean, I thought I was going to end up finishing in the 50s here. Once I hit go mode, I was like, I don't want to watch people finish for the next 20 minutes while I finish this up, so I'm just going to minimize IRC. So I'm thinking with my finish time, probably looking at 50th place. I guess, you know, a lot of people saw the seed the same way, because for me to still place in the 20s feels like a huge stroke of luck.
I really wasn't sure how to feel until the finishes started rolling in. Because part of me felt really bad, but part of me also felt really good. Because I did dodge a few hazards. Like, I managed to hold off on Pollination until go mode. I guess I got the boots, like, right after the hammer, which was okay, sort of.
Once I hit go mode, I'm thinking, boy, if you just do Skull Woods, get the hammer, and you go full clear thieves, and you pick up the cane, and you just go to Death Mountain, you're gonna be in go mode so fast.
Yeah,
And that's kind of hard to do all that, because I'm sure, like, after you get the hammer and everything, you're thinking, we got to at least go run down to Swamp Palace and things like that. But there was a very fast way through this seed, even with the kind of jank early game, really late Pearl, doing some weird stuff. Didn't have bombs or weapons. Kept putting off mini Moldorm Cave. That was such a weird beginning to the game too, and kind of just set the tone, I guess, for the weirdness that was to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I think I got the Moon Pearl, I don't know, like 30 minutes or something.
Yeah, it was tricky. There was a lot of items that you had to get in a particular, you know, the flippers particularly, which I got kind of early again because I was doing stuff in a weird order with no bombs, and probably should have just gone and bought bombs and did South Shore. But I guess I get the flippers a little earlier my way. Still felt weird. Just like I said, set the tone for some weird, kind of shaky routing that was going to follow in the Dark World.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And in the meantime here, we had Lynn finish up with a time of 150 to 25. Good enough for 37th place. Not the result you were hoping for, Lynn. GG's, buddy.
GG's. GG, everybody.
Yeah, GG.
GG's, Lynn.
If I'm looking from the race perspective, yeah, of course. I handle. I literally cleared the whole seat. So, yeah. But if I'm looking from the qualifier perspective, like having handled the seat and still being in the top half of the runners doesn't feel that bad, considering I'm just trying to qualify for the tournament.
I mean, you're not even far from the top third. It's still pretty good considering you full clear the game.
Yeah, exactly. So
I told you the Ice Palace about the hammer.
Yes. So really, like, yeah, I had a bad seed, but it feels like I feel not great about qualifiers, but I don't feel that bad regarding the qualifiers. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. You guys, even though that hammer dodged all four of you pretty good, you put in solid runs that'll put you in a good position kind of going forward for sure. I don't know if there's much else to really talk about. We kind of covered most of the points of the seed here. I suppose we can probably just wrap it up. Megawatt, any questions, I guess, that haven't been answered?
None that we haven't covered already. I got pretty much everything I wanted to know out of the runners.
Yeah, right? I did too. Okay, I guess any final thoughts from our 4 featured runners here?
I'm thinking back on it, and I think if I had gotten the hammer initially, if I just gone into Skullwoods right away, I probably would have just full cleared Davestown, because like it's 3 items in the back plus the green pendant. That's still pretty good. So I guess if I had done that, I would have probably saved a good, I don't know, 10 minutes at least.
And it somewhat fits the playing safe philosophy for qualifiers too, so
I don't know.
it's not too unreasonable.
It's just like going to Skullwoods when you have mid for Dark Worlds and the flute. Don't forget about the flute. It's just like you can go back whenever and then you find that cane in Village of Outcast. You're like, I have access to Mire. I still have a fighter sword, so let's clear the south of the Dark World, so I can get like another sword or something. Because fighter sword doesn't feel great.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, really, the key is just it's reasonable to go in there at first, and I think in this particular sheet, it's pretty reasonable to not go in there at first. There's a lot of items that could be in Skullwoods that really don't hurt you that much if you put it off, because like Lynn said, you can just flute back, jump in there.
Yeah.
You don't want to last location it because okay, people could do it first thing in the Dark World. But you really only get, completely owned if it's hammer, and then that kind of sends you into a panic, like, oh, I could have had this so early, let me go and do some other strange things and not go straight into Thieves Town. If you got late hammer and still went into Thieves Town at a reasonable time, you don't do that badly in this. So
Yeah.
the results are showing that. So there were some reasonable ways to play this that were good, and there were some reasonable ways to play this that just didn't work out. And judging by the results and seeing the average finish time, that kind of holds up. So if you got one of those routes that placed you well, it was reasonable, and there's going to be a lot of people finishing 50th, 60th that also had pretty reasonable routes. Yeah, that would work in most seeds, just not in this one. As a side note, can we get a shout out for the almost 100-person race? I feel like it's 2017 in A Link to the Past rando here. This is pretty hype. If this is what the qualifiers are going to be like, I'm planning on playing like 15 of these, I guess now.
I'm not here next weekend, but I'm definitely playing a lot of these qualifiers, especially when I did bad like this one. I did feel like I did bad, but I still managed to be like not on top of the runners, but like top half, almost.
Yeah, definitely, man. Righto. So yeah, if you haven't yet, folks, give these runners a follow. They're amazing runners in the community here. So they definitely deserve it. They put in a lot of time into this game. So give them a follow if you can. I'd like to thank our I'm choking up here. I'd like to thank our trackers today, literally Jen and Merc249. Clicking those buttons behind the scenes, much appreciated. And my co-com, Megawatt, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely, Sabo. It was a pleasure to, and thank you for coming with me as well.
Nice. So this is the only qualifier for today. We have 16 qualifiers over the next 3 weeks. So tomorrow we have a qualifier at, it starts for runners at 8 o'clock Eastern time here in the United States, North America. And it'll be on a channel yet to be determined. That broadcast will take place starting about 8:15, 8:20 or so. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, 16 races over the next 3 weeks should be a lot of fun. So lots of Link to the Past 2019 tournament action still ahead of us. And I guess with that, we'll sign off. Oh, what you got there, Lynn?
I just wanted to in 30 minutes on ALTTPR Randomizer channel, there's gonna be the
oh yeah, we gotta shout out the league.
Yep.
So you're gonna be doing a showcase race of the new co-op mode.
A showcase race for League Season 2. Tune in 30 minutes on A Link to the Past Randomizer channel.
And we've also got the Link to the Past randomizer, Link to the Past Super Metroid combo rando up here next, and an SG live match for the Z1R finals is coming up later on the main channel as well. So some more action here as well to check out. But yeah, the league is something that's pretty hyped. So definitely keep an eye out for that. We're all looking forward to hearing about that as well. And with that, I guess that'll bring this broadcast to an end. Thank you to our forerunners again. Thank you guys so much for being restreamed. Really appreciate it, taking the time as well. So for everyone here, have a good day.
Bye-bye.